she can flip and how she can be, really, really taxing. And if things don't go her way, she becomes a nightmare.
She is an emotionally abusive woman. She is a bullying woman. According to Taz, will you be my Valentine today?
Absolutely, Dan, always.
Let's not tell the husband. Let's not tell the fiance. Okay, we'll just share in this little special moment together this Valentine's Day.
We just tell everybody else.
It's an online affair, isn't it? But look, Tash, I thought because it is Valentine's Day, and actually there's been so much horror and so much scandal all week long, and a lot of people really depressed, actually, because we love the British royal family. We want them to survive. And one of the things that is most important with royals, of course, is the strength of relationships. So, Tash, I've got you to give out roses today to all of our favourite royal couples. And I think, actually, when you look at this juxtaposition, actually, what we see, and obviously we'll go along with all of the couples as we go, but what we see is genuine love versus performative love. And so, Tash, let's kick off with the miserable duo in Montecito, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who this Valentine's Day you have awarded just half a rose. So even though Harry declared, "I love you," in that very awkward video where he's now merching "was never white chocolate," which isn't selling, you're not convinced that all is rosy this Valentine's Day for Prince Harry and the fake Duchess. Why? What do you think's really going on?
I just think their relationship is performative. I think that Meghan knows she's tried to go solo and she doesn't attract the needs without Harry. That's why I think Harry got dragged along to that Girl Scouts premiere. Meghan knows that on her own, she just goes straight back to being the same person that she was before she met Harry. We saw recently at the 15% pledge, she just looked like someone's plus one. She wasn't being honored. She wasn't there by herself on a special table. She was just blending in with everybody. She needs Harry. And Harry, he always tells her that he loves her. She can never, ever say that she loves him back. It's always, "That man loves me so much. That man adores me so much." But you never, ever hear Meghan say, "Oh, I love you too." And it's quite the natural response. I mean, I've been with my husband now for 10 years. When he says, "I love you," I don't even think about it. I'm like, "I love you too." But it just naturally flows. But Harry tells Meghan he loves her, and she's like, as she walks away with a bar of chocolate, whether he did a good job advertising her chocolate or not. But yes, I just find them fake and performative. It never looks natural between them, in most part because she always makes sure that it's her love, isn't it? It's Harry loves her. When she kisses him, it's her face that you see. She does that act that Susan Sarandon did with Joey in Friends, where she cups his face and he's like, "Is it affection?" She's like, "No, it's because the camera can center on me." So yes, half a rose, half a rose.
The problem, I think, is for Harry that he realizes he's in this mess and doesn't really see a way out. And what's so fascinating, Tash, is that for a long time he has believed, I think in a totally delusional manner, that in some way he is the white knight who's going to ride back to the United Kingdom and save the British royal family. Whereas indeed my take is that all of these very disturbing revelations and the fact that Andrew and now Charles, because of the payout, are sort of caught up in this scandal doesn't make it more likely that Harry has any role to save the British royal family. I actually think it makes it less likely, because my belief is that William is going to be increasingly empowered here. That's probably not at the choice of Charles, but rather at the behest of politicians who will be seeing, oh my goodness, that the royal family is at stake here. And William will get his own way, which means no comeback for Harry. You're a risk. You're exiled. We don't want you here. We're not paying for your security. And all of a sudden, that means he's more of a prisoner in Montecito. That's how I see it going. Now, I know at the moment the jury is still out because Charles does seem to be softening and wanting his youngest son to have the security. But according to the recent reporting from the New York Post, Tash, when it comes to Harry's life in Montecito itself, it's totally miserable. He's a prisoner in that house. He barely leaves. Outside of Nacho Figueras, he has none of his own friends. So actually, when you think about the day-to-day, it isn't a happy life for Prince Harry in Montecito. And I have reported for some time that the marriage is anything but happy. It is convenience, though, because neither of these two at this point can see any other option.
Harry does come across as a prisoner. He really does. And perhaps that's why Harry's always barefoot these days, because Meghan can't trust him with shoelaces. He does look miserable. He does look miserable, doesn't he? He does look unhappy. I mean, that video was ultimate cringe level. That was 10 out of 10. You know, the way he's holding up the chocolate bar and making sure that it's facing the right way for the camera, like he's an Instagrammer. It really, really was the ultimate cringeworthy. But you could tell he almost looks nervous when Meghan approaches, because I can imagine he's walking on a tightrope every day. You just never know which way it's going to go. She must be an absolute nightmare to live with. There's so many stories about how she can flip and how she can be, you know, really, really taxing. And if things don't go her way, she becomes a nightmare. And these are just former staff. So I can't imagine what it would be like being married to her. But yes, as I said, that's probably the reason why Harry's not allowed shoelaces.
So does that mean that you think there should be some sympathy towards Harry because he is dealing with a woman who is so obviously, and we know this, by the way, emotionally abusive? I mean, she is an emotionally abusive woman. She is a bullying woman. I have no issue with saying that now. So even though Harry has been such a monster himself, if he is being subjected to some form of emotional abuse, domestic abuse, marital abuse, should there be sympathy for him? He might be trapped, Tash.
Love is in the air. And so is royal drama. For this Valentine's Day special, Dan is joined by According to Taz to rank the greatest and most controversial royal romances of modern times. From fairy tale beginnings to relationships that shook the monarchy, we're counting down the couples who defined royal love stories. Which romance stood the test of time? Which one divided the public? And which pairing completely changed the royal family forever? This is a fun, honest ranking, looking at chemistry, loyalty, impact, and of course, the drama. Like the video if you love royal history with a twist, subscribe for more royal specials, and comment below. Who tops your royal romance list?
There, of course, is that. There were lots of signs, especially in the beginning. I said myself that if Jack Brooksbank had come along and behaved the same way that Meghan Markle did to Harry, to Princess Eugenie, she slowly cut off all of her friends and fell out with everybody, and he was very much in control, people would have had a completely different attitude to what they did with Harry. But there are signs there, and you do need to be careful. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But I do not have any sympathy for Harry because he chose to treat his family the way that he did. He chose to treat the Queen and his grandfather the way he did. You know, people do end up in terrible relationships and terrible situations. And a lot of the time they just cut off their family, which is something that you would think Harry would have done. But Harry's continued attacks on his family. He's making those decisions. Meghan, as you can see, she ghosts her family when she's done with them. She ghosts her friends. Harry comes back for blood over and over and over. So I don't think that, whilst I think that Meghan has nurtured Harry's attitude, his attitude was always there. I think he's always been a very toxic person. I believe, much like Prince Andrew, the palace have done an awful good job at covering up a lot of incidents and bad things. So no, for me, Dan, sorry, I don't have a bit of sympathy for him because I think deep down he's just as nasty, if not nastier, than his wife.
I'm actually totally with you on that. I'm totally with you. I think you're right. It was interesting to get the other side, but no, I don't have sympathy for Harry. He has treated the women in his life terribly for years. Maybe he's getting a piece of his own medicine now, But
Karma.
yeah, well, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Maybe you end up with who you deserve, Tash. Just saying. Just saying.
That's why our spouses are so perfect.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, how many roses to William and Catherine?
Well, of course. I mean, maximum number of roses allowed to give,
So you're
Dan.
giving them 5 roses. Okay, so
I'd give them
just
10.
so despite all this stress, Tash, what seems very clear to me, and sometimes this happens, you see it sometimes out of tragedy, their marriage has actually become stronger. The difficult times, and let's be honest, the past 2 years have been incredibly difficult. Catherine actually facing her own mortality, William being left to really care for the children and perform his royal duties as the heir to the throne, with his father also undergoing a cancer battle. But they are more together than they were before that.
They are. I mean, when you think they've been together since they were teenagers, you've seen their relationship change and evolve from Catherine being a royal girlfriend, becoming a royal wife to a princess in training. We've watched her go from managing to give birth to the heir of the throne, Prince George. Then she's gone on to have, another couple of children as well. We've got Prince Louis and Princess Charlotte. And of course, children do take over your life, especially in those early years. And, Catherine went through this, thankfully, when the children were a little bit older, with the exception, obviously, of Prince Louis. It did make it a bit more manageable for them. They had a lot of support from their family. But I'd imagine that Prince William loved his wife. I mean, they've always been very tactile and very affectionate with each other. We've only very rarely had a moment where those two look like they've had a bit of a spat or a bit of an argument behind the scenes, but they've been married all these years. It's pretty normal to have the day where you're just like, ugh, cannot stand you breathing near me right now. And unfortunately, they have the cameras on them all the time. But I do believe after Catherine going through cancer, like you said, facing her own mortality, to the fear of losing someone, the fear of never having them, never seeing them, never holding them, especially being the mother of his children, what he went through as a child. I think, Prince William has become even more affectionate with Catherine, perhaps caring less about the cameras. You are seeing such more of an affection between them. And it's not put on, it's not fake, it's not performative, it's just protective, it's cute, it's sweet, and it's just the way they look at each other and they smile. These two are so in love. They've been through everything together. Not many people go from high school sweethearts and go through to this stage of their marriage with their children, now teenagers, well, Prince George's, and come through it. I've got friends that have been divorced for a lot less, and they've gone through all of this under the watchful eye of the world's media and the public. So I think those two are genuinely, totally besotted with each other. So yes, if I could give them 10 roses, Dan, I would. I think they're a lovely couple.
Okay, what about the more controversial of all the royal couples? And the reason I include them in this list, Tash, is that they're still oddly codependent and until recently were effectively back in a relationship. I'm, of course, referring to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Sarah Ferguson. How many roses do you give them this Valentine's Day?
Ugh, 0. I don't want to give them anything. I don't want to give them anything. 0.5, okay? Because I do believe that those two loved each other, I would guess. They did love each other. They were in love, but I believe, much like Harry and Meghan, they were partners in crime, as it turns out, quite literally.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
Normally you use that terminology loosely, but she was a party girl. He was a party boy. I think that they enjoyed the trappings and the luxuries of being royals. I think they've used it to their advantage. I think that they did have a happy family at one point with their 2 daughters. They are literally partners in crime, the decisions, they're both just as bad as each other. So there probably is a bit of codependency there. They've enabled each other, most normal partnerships, your husband's getting into a bit of a bad situation with bad people. You'd say, don't do that. That's bad. You wouldn't be the one introducing them together going, oh, do you know what? I'll take some money off him as well. So those two are just as bad as each other. I'm not even sure this whole they've split apart is even true. I think they're just doing it to save public face. So whilst I don't wish to give them anything for obvious reasons, I would say 0.5. They are together, but I wouldn't say it's romantic. I just think that those two enable each other. It's a bit of a toxic relationship.